So, for the sake of public interest, I had a couple people ask me to check out this topic. And truth be told, like I said, I used to listen to Coast AM religiously. And if you guys never heard of them, I believe they're already syndicated, but they're on every evening between 11 p.m. Rocky Mountain Standard Time till about 1 a.m. And before Art Bell, who was the creator of the show, um, when his contract expired and being the creator of the show, out of all things, why would he step away? Maybe it was his own doing. I don't know. I never had asked him, but he went out and he made his another show of his called Gray Matter, um, just because scientists hypothesize that there's such thing as black matter, which makes up more than matter of itself. So yeah, I don't. Still trying to catch dark matter with these crazy little concrete boxes with holes on them. I mean, hey, they're physicists. They know more than I do about it. I know a little bit about physics, but not enough to contradict what they're doing. Or I have no place in telling them what to do. Really, nonetheless, though, um, the show concentrates both Coast to Coast AM and when Art Bell was still alive, uh, Gray Matter, and it all concentrated on government conspiracies from UFOs to cryptids to um, government cover ups to ghost hunters. Uh, when they had tried to pass off this Russia at one time, or either Russia or Ukraine, one of the two, before all this shit that was going on there. Uh, they dug, they have the world record for digging the deepest hole in Earth, and it's about like maybe 8 inches in circumference, not very big. And they lowered, I mean, I forgot how far down they went, but it was it was pretty far. And even though a human couldn't have possibly fit through it, they still, I mean, if you go online and look up, deepest hole ever dug or drilled, I mean, that sucker is bolted down. Yeah, I have too many words to compare it to or analogies. I'm not going to go there. But it's it's more secure than Fort Knox. I mean, those bolts on there look like they're freaking 10 pounds each, and they secured the shit out of that hole. Well, one guy said that he got this recording from his uncle, uh, from the sounds of hell. And for let me show you a little tidbit of it because it does sound kind of freaky. So hold on. Okay, so quick disclaimer. When I first, because I'm religious, I mentioned that before. I'm non-denominational Christian. Um, we don't do the talking in tongues or running up and down or anything like or handle snakes. Right? If you grew up like that, that's not criticizing anyone. I'm just saying we didn't. Um, but I was always cognizant and still have been in my adult life of the difference between heaven and hell. And I know there's a lot of people who don't believe, and I'm not trying to push my beliefs on you. This is just purely for um, entertainment purposes, if you would call it that. I do believe in demonic possessions because I have seen it firsthand. That's the only thing I've ever seen, even trying to go ghost hunting before there was even Ghost Adventurers, before there was Taps, before there were all these ones that popped up on Discovery Channel, A&E, um, you know, all these shows all of a sudden start popping up everywhere. And, what does that do? That creates a big topic in the YouTube society. Excuse me one moment. Why isn't this thing running? All right, sorry about that. So, one night, I'm listening to my favorite show, which was Coast to Coast AM, and they had a demonologist on there. And he had brought some recordings of some of his exorcisms that he would help perform with. I mean, they have to go through a lot of red tape to perform an exorcism, but he wasn't an ordained priest that had to go through, the loopholes that the Catholics require in order to really call it an exorcism. He was just there as to document what was going on. And I remember that very night, I'd go on my nightly walks, and I was like passing by this park, and where I used to live was, the suburbs here in, kind of nowhere. Well, I don't want to say kind of close. I mean, it's not too far from Denver, but the suburbs of Colorado, which there are many, but just happen to be in a county that I hate saying the name of it. They're assholes. Nonetheless, there's not a lot of streetlights, in the suburbs. And I'm passing by, and I used to walk this park, and I used to have this bright, bright LED light. I forgot how many lumens it had. It must have been, I mean, it was crazy amount of lumens on it. And so I hadn't turned it on yet because I could still see, pretty well, and I was familiar with the park. And this demonologist goes on and starts playing some of the tapes, that he had caught while, being there to document these exorcisms. And it just scared the living shit out of me that turn on the light, and like every 5 minutes I'm like looking over my shoulder. And this only happened like maybe 8 years ago or so. So yeah, that got me pretty freaked out. But when this first came out, this one scared me just as bad. So this is Art Bell, for those of you guys who don't know who he is. Passed away, but he just had that voice for radio. He's he was so cool. Like I said, an ex-girlfriend of mine, her family knew him, and I got to meet him shortly for like dinner. And I did get a chance to talk to him. And like I said, I don't get real working in the industry that I did. I never really got all you know, fanboy crazy. Like, oh my God, I need to get, I never was like that. I never was taken back by, that kind of status. It's just like, they're just like you and I. But for some reason with him, I was like, oh my God, it's freaking Art Bell. Like, I listen to you all the time, man. You're cool as hell. And yeah, I mean, he started off his show as just another political show. And it wasn't until he had like an open mic night where people called in and started talking about like, UFOs and if the, politics of the government. And that just lit a fuse because that night the radio station had more calls than it ever did. So he changed his whole format to talking about the unknown, from cryptids, from UFOs to ghosts to demonologies to whatever was the unknown. Göbekli Temple, if you ever heard of that, it is a stone structure that predates even Mesopotamia, which is so far the oldest records of writing on stone that we have ever discovered to date. And Göbekli Temple freaking outdates that. And again, nobody knows how in the hell they built these structures, but it's a really cool topic. I would suggest you check it out. Nonetheless, I'll play this. What had happened was in Siberia is where it happened. So for some reason, they undertook the task of drilling the deepest they possibly could into the earth. And they were able to drill 9 miles down before it got so hot that it was just melting, the blades or the drills. And so they stopped right there. And I mean, they sealed this thing up. I mean, yeah, I don't foresee anything ever getting inside that hole. But they dropped a microphone down into that hole, and it's no bigger than, I mean, not even a household cat or a feral cat could probably even fit into it. It wasn't really that big. I mean, possibly, yeah, a cat probably could have fit in there, but maybe a chihuahua as well. But anything bigger than that, there was no way they were going to fall in this hole. It was just way too small. But when they dropped this mic down there, he explains what happens, and so I'll let the whole thing play right here. It's not that long, but it scared the living shit out of me that night.
Look, I appreciate the call. Let me, for the sake of the audience that joined since midnight, I'm not going to read the full article about the 9-mile hole. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to read the email that I got last night, along with what I received. This horrendous sound. Now, I've got a clean copy of it now, and I warn you, this could scare you. Here's the email. Dear Art Bell, I just recently began listening to your radio show and could not believe it when you talked about the sounds from hell tonight. My uncle had told me this story a couple of years ago, and I didn't believe him. Like one of your listeners who discounted the story as nothing more than just a religious newspaper fabricated account. The story about the digging of the hole and the hearing of the sounds from hell is very real. It did occur in Siberia. My uncle collected videos and audio tapes and so forth on the paranormal, supernatural. He passed away fairly recently, but he would have loved your show. He let me listen to one of the audio tapes that he had on the sounds from hell in Siberia, and I copied it. He received his copy from a friend who worked at the BBC. It took me a while to find it tonight, but attached is that sound from my uncle's tapes. It's not the greatest quality, but the sounds are there. I was very hesitant to send you this, as the sound bothers me to listen to. I'd suggest that if you do play it on the program, warn listeners in advance so they may have the option of turning the radio off for 30 seconds while it plays. It has always haunted me. To those who discounted the Siberia sounds from Hell story, it is true, and I, for one, wish it wasn't. Rick, listening from Chicago. And so I submit now the cleaned, a better copy to you, and I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed. That's it. I'll let you come to your own conclusions, as I usually do.
So, yeah. Being born and raised a Christian and hearing that night, walking pitch black outside, I was just... Yeah, I was like, this is fucking crazy. Excuse my language, but make of it what you will. Um, if you know what it is, don't ruin it for other people. Um, I know exactly what it is, but I'm not gonna insinuate if it's fake or if it's real. But you make up your own mind. I just always found it very interesting, so I thought I'd go ahead and play it here. So yeah, I have another video uploading as we speak, so I'll be back.